This episode of the Off Road Podcast is sponsored by Warren, Power Tank, and Medical Gear Outfitters.
Off-Road Podcast, episode 292. Tread lightly.
Tonight, Aaron buys some wood, Ben gets snowed on, and Jeremy is a typical government employee and has another day off?
Do you guys hear the music?
Nope.
Nope.
What the heck? Technical difficulties here as
Yeah. Well, just do it without the music there, Ben.
Yep. Well, let's go off here with welcome to the Off-Road Podcast. Podcast about everything off-road. We cover the news, review products, and interview people in the off-road industry. I'm your host, Ben, and I'm here with my co-hosts, Aaron, and returning again, Jeremy. And we are also joined by Matt Cadwell, the executive director for Tread Lightly.
The weekend review is brought to you by Medical Gear Outfitters. What are you waiting for? Are you waiting to have a casualty on the trail? Check out medicalgearoutfitters.com to get straightened out. Medical Gear Outfitters has everything you need, whether you're going out for the day or traveling on a year-long expedition. Head over to get off-road specific kits that meet all your needs. And while you're there, make sure you use Off-Road Podcast for 10% off. Well, Aaron, what have you been up to?
I've been swamped with projects. I just ordered the wood to build the pole barn for my shop. If the government's listening, it is an agriculture building that I'll be using on my farm for farm purposes. It'll be storing my tools that I work on my farm equipment with. It may or may not have a vehicle lift that I'll lift my tractor up in the air with to change the oil, farm stuff.
Farm truck.
So, yeah. And I'll be parking the farm truck inside of there. So I ordered the pole barn material for that. And Saturday, I created a Copart account so I could start shopping for a parts truck, a Nissan Titan, so that I could do the engine and transmission swap, the drivetrain swap. I already put a bid down on one. Fingers crossed. It's really local to me. We'll see if I get it. It ends in 2 days. I'm a little concerned about this one because it has a minimum bid, and I saw that whoever owned it before paid $5,500 for it, and that's more than I'm willing to pay for it. And if that's the minimum bid, I'm definitely not gonna get that one. So we'll see how that goes. I mentioned last week about having some HVAC problems with the Toyota Avalon, my daily driver. I got the fan fixed in that, and so I can park the Nissan with all the engine noises that's going on with that. And beyond that, the snowstorm we talked about that was coming, it came, but it was absolutely pathetic for what I got. Friday we were supposed to get 5 inches. Saturday we were supposed to get Friday night we were supposed to get 5 to 8 more inches on top of the 5 for Saturday, for the day of Friday. And then Saturday we're supposed to get like 3 to 4 inches Saturday. So it was all supposed to come out to like 15 inches of snow for my area. We got 3 inches of snow. I was so bummed out because I was looking forward to deep, deep snow to play in, to recover people, to go be someone's savior by picking up carrots at the grocery store for some carrot cake or something that they needed to make for a birthday party, just random stuff. And I just got shafted. Someone who didn't get shafted was Coy, and he's not with us tonight because he got iced over. So he's about an hour from me in Oregon, and he got totally iced over, and it broke the power pole outside of his house and brought power lines down everywhere. So he's not with us tonight for that reason.
How about you, Ben? Let's jump over to you.
Well, I did get snow. I probably got about 8 inches total, but it was like we we got like 4 inches, and then it like mostly melted, and then got like another 4 inches on top of it. So, but it was really nice snow for driving in. I had no complaints, and surprisingly enough, our local municipalities did a good job plowing the roads, so the roads weren't too terrible. I had fun in it. I didn't do a whole bunch of driving in it, but still had fun. Other than that, my wife worked this weekend, so it was just me and the kids. So I worked on the tent. I'm like 95% done. Actually, I've got a picture to show. Um, Woohoo! I have a headliner on there. All I have left is the lights to hang up in there. Um,
I'm glad you went with that side out. That's a
Isn't it
lot more
great?
fun. It's a lot more fun than just boring gray. I think it gives it just makes it a little more snazzy.
Well, what was it? Aaron Kravick said it was a little bit hillbilly, and I'm like, well, I am part hill person, so
Yeah.
me pretty well. And then on top of that, we now in our Facebook group, there's a bet on whether or not my rig's gonna burn down because my diesel heater's done. It's like 99% done. I'm waiting on a part in the mail for so I can wire it into my jackery.
I just can't believe you wanted an over under on that. There's no over under.
Well, it could melt.
I would still consider that burning up.
Well, if my rig doesn't catch fire, then it's all good.
So we should mention here real quick our Facebook group. So since we had our last podcast, we just created a new Facebook group as opposed to a Facebook page. So if you want to join that, look for Off-Road Podcast Fans. And if you have an idea on something that would be a very fun, catchy name for the Off-Road Fans Facebook group, let us know. We might entertain it.
Oh no, we'll definitely entertain it because we need a better name than that.
We definitely do. But it can't be like Potty McPodcast face or something like that.
I said we'll entertain it, not we're
Yeah.
gonna go with whatever you guys say.
Yeah. Eric's wondering if you're going to use the exhaust to heat your tent from your diesel heater.
No, no.
You know which end to point into the tent, right?
Well, yeah. So actually, if you look at this picture here, you see that little white port there? It's an adapter I found at Lowe's where I can literally plug
That's
in
gonna melt.
a dryer vent hose, and I've got an 8-foot hose to go up to my rooftop tent.
What's that black thing hanging down that needs a Viagra?
That's the air intake for the heating element side.
Okay.
So there's 2 air intakes and 2 exhausts. One air is for heating up the combustion side, and the other air is the fresh air that's getting heated up. And so
And
there's no
and
diesel.
you're running it off a diesel?
Yep.
So my buddy, I think you were on the podcast when I mentioned it. My buddy who was doing it was running his off of kerosene,
Yeah.
and
So
he just buys a 1-gallon jug of kerosene.
yeah, it's essentially the same fuel. The kerosene burns a little hotter, and so it's
The last thing you need.
but it also burns cleaner, so it's not as sooty, I guess, because of the chemicals. What do they call it? The conditioning chemicals and stuff. I can't think of what they call it. So yeah, but yeah. So what can go wrong is the question. We'll find
Yeah.
out.
A lot.
Yeah. Well, Jeremy, what's going on with you?
Well, I'm still waiting on those axles to ship. I kind of wish I had just bought. So I wanted to go with the Dynatracs. I had an opportunity to buy some in stock Ultimate 60s, but I didn't take those ones. I went for the Dynatrac ones, and I'm kind of wishing I did the 60s because they would have been here a long, long time ago. Yeah, I know. They're now almost 2 weeks overdue. Yeah, more than 2 weeks overdue. They're supposed to ship on the 29th of January, and now it's the 15th. So they're like almost 2 and a third of a week overdue already. So
Any update, any word, anything?
no, they said that they would hopefully have them shipped in 2 weeks. So I'm gonna recontact them tomorrow and say, hey, do you guys have a new updated shipping date? Because I'm
Where's my
anxious to
crap?
get these installed.
Yeah.
But oh well. It's given me some time to work on some other stuff like installing my monster valve. So I got 4 out of 5 installed. Want to guess what happened on the 5th?
Uh-oh.
You broke a tool.
I did break a tool. So I broke my tap. So I was getting impatient and going too fast and applied a little bit too much leverage and broke my tap right off into the hole. So
Ooh.
I've spent about 2 hours with a Dremel and a diamond tip bit trying to grind out the center of it so I can just break it apart from there.
Yeah.
I had to pick up some more diamond tip bits. So
Yeah, those
They're hard.
taps, those
Yeah.
taps are hardened steel. They're legit. So
oh yeah,
that's not good.
I'm most of the way through it. I think I got maybe I think I have less than a third left to go. So I mean it's almost there. It's going. It's just taking a lot of time and patience.
Do you have enough in there now that you could use like an easy out bit to try and use that to get it out?
No, I mean it's like it is a smooth hole. It is a smooth. It's not all the way through yet, and it's definitely a smooth. How would I describe that? It's like you took, oh I don't know, a pen and just made a pen shaped hole all the way to the bottom.
Oh, fun.
So there's no using an easy out on it because there's nothing for the easy out to grip onto.
Too bad you don't have like a welder that you could stick some metal down there and put a couple spot welds on and try to twist it out.
That would probably be the easiest way. Yeah, just try to weld a bolt in there or something.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got 4 of them done, so that's good.
Yeah, I'm definitely looking at. Well, hopefully I can use an easy out once I punch through. So I'm not going to end up punching. I'm not going to end up. I haven't ground out all of the inside. So it's still gonna all the 4 teeth are still going to be connected. But I'm hoping that maybe I can use the easy out once I make a hole all the way down. Then maybe the easy out will have something to grip into, but I'm prepared to just go ahead and pretty much just grind most of it out.
Just throw the wheel away and buy another one.
Yeah, I'm trying not to do that.
Put some bubble gum over that hole and drill a hole next to it.
Seriously, if I had just probably worked overtime for the amount of time that this is probably going to take me, I probably could have just bought the new wheel. But I don't want my wife to know that I broke something. So hopefully I can just get it out without her knowing and never have to say a word of this.
Notice him turning around and looking at the door for her to run out.
Yeah, just making sure she's not standing there or something.
Yeah. On that note, I caught my wife listening to our podcast, so I'm not sure what's going on there. Hi, honey, by the way, if she's listening down the road from now. Not sure if she's listening so that she can find out how much I'm spending on my truck project or what's going on.
Sounds about right.
So be careful, Jeremy.
Might have to find myself doing that. I might start ratting me out. Henry's been watching that lately.
Uh-oh.
Just JB welded and drill a new one.
Yeah,
I mean the tap is taking up most of the hole.
Yeah, that's not good. I'm
No.
shocked that you broke a hardened steel tap in an aluminum wheel.
I was surprised as well. I mean, it's not a small tap. It's a quarter 18 NPT tap. So it's a piping tap.
Yeah.
And I mean it's like half an inch in diameter. I mean, obviously the inside of it is probably only, I don't know. I'm just not even going to guess. But
what tap?
What?
What brand was it?
It was whatever Power Tank sent me.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
At least they sent you a tap.
Yeah. Well, I mean, the amount of time that it's taking me to grind it out is definitely is showing me that it's not a cheap tap by any stretch of the imagination. It's just when you harden steel like that, it definitely makes it a lot more brittle.
Well, yeah, and any weakness in it can multiply easily with the wrong amount of force.
Yeah, and I was putting too much leverage on it. I knowingly was. I was not doing a good job of clearing out my chips, and I just got greedy. I knew I only needed about a quarter of a turn on the tap to get it tapped enough from where I was, and I just got greedy, and
Yep.
now
That'll do it.
I was going to be done in like 5 minutes, and now it's been another 2.5 hours or so.
Ouch. Well, Matt, welcome to the show, Matt. Tell us a little bit. Don't tell us too much about yourself, but what you been up to? You just got back from King of the Hammers, right?
Yeah, thanks for having me on. And yeah, just got back from a lovely 12-day trip to Johnson Valley for King of the Hammers. Doing a bunch of stuff there for Tread Lightly, of course, and spent the last week playing catch up from being out of the office for a week and a half, and now getting ready. Easter Jeep's not too far away, and trying to weave through what all's going to happen with that, with it being canceled, not canceled, canceled, not canceled. And
Exactly. Yep. Yep.
How that's been for you?
it's been fun to try to figure out what we're going to do. We've got a partner that we were going to make an announcement with that we're still trying to decide whether we're going to make that announcement or not. But I'm sure when it comes down to it, everything will go off just fine, and it'll all be good. But plenty to do between now and EJS for sure.
Anything else besides getting prep for that stuff?
Like you guys, we've had a little bit of snow here, and honestly, in Salt Lake, we just haven't had a whole lot of snow this year, which for us is not always a good thing. Not just for the ski season, but it can make the summer a little interesting when it comes to wildfires. So
Yeah.
we're supposed to get snow again tonight, snow again Thursday. So hopefully that continues for a while, because we sure have not had the winter that we normally get here by any means. And I'd rather be riding this summer than worrying about where we can't be riding because of wildfires.
Yeah, for sure.
Or swimming through the smoke that loves to sit in the valley in Salt Lake.
Yeah, we did when we went to Nevada on our off-road trip. There was so much smoke. It kind of killed the views. Well, we did have some awesome views. It would have been that much better without the smoke.
Yeah, it's not a whole lot of fun here in the valley when you've got that going on by any means. Not something I had to worry about living in South Carolina, but something you definitely have to think about here. And very, very glad for the snow that we've got in the last couple days.
Hey guys, we're looking to reach more listeners. We're going to start reading Apple iTunes reviews on air. If you hear yours, send us a message with your address, and we'll send you an Off-Road Podcast sticker. You can find all of our social media by just searching our name. Now, go hit that subscribe button.
And also, we can't forget about Patriot Patch. Don't forget to check out the great selection of patches and their Patch of the Month Club. We just we showed this one right here, the February one. It's 3 times the love with those tax stamps. What more can we say? I was happy to get it. It's a nice quality patch. Their groups actually, Jake just gave away 2 of some previous Valentine related patches this last weekend, right, Aaron?
Did. Yep. He's always giving stuff away on his different channels. So if you don't follow them on Facebook or MeWe, make sure you check him out. I think he has a parlor also.
All over the places. Do we know what next month is yet? Have we heard anything?
No, it hasn't has not been released. It's a little too early for that. probably be a couple more months.
A couple more months.
I'm sorry, a couple more weeks, months. Whenever they're coming.
The news is brought to you by Power Tank, the ultimate mobile onboard air system for performance, versatility, and reliability. They are your source for all air-related accessories. Check them out at powertank.com.
The first story that we got this week is drivers with the North Texas Jeep Club have been given free rides to healthcare workers. So this is something that, so this Jeep Club, the North Texas Jeep Club, has given out over 1,000 rides to healthcare workers in need. These events happen all over the country. I know locally our SAR was doing it. I know also the WARN group, the Washington Off-Road Recovery Network, puts it together as well. And I just think it's some really good PR for the Jeeping community and the off-road community, and it definitely helps us win some good rapport. It's nice that we can take one of our hobbies and use it for a lot of good.
Yeah, Rick. I know Rick was out there helping deliver some healthcare workers. I did my part. I let my wife drive a good vehicle to work.
What
Doesn't count.
Did you rent something?
No,
Oh.
no. So we bought tires for the expedition. That's like, here, babe, take the expedition. There's gear in here and recovery gear if you get stuck, and then just call me and I'll come out with the Forerunner if you're beyond that.
See, I thought he was going to say he let her take the Forerunner in.
Hell no, I need that in case I need to go save her.
I reached out to a local police officer in our area and told him if with the snowstorm that we didn't get, but I told him if because he was working Friday night when we were all of it was supposed to be going down. I think Friday and Saturday night, and I told him, hey, if you need anything, let me know. I'll come out and pull people out of ditches for fun. I love doing that stuff.
Yeah, Rick was going all weekend, lots of travel.
Yeah.
How many miles you put on there, Rick?
Yeah, I didn't. I'm not sure how you guys saw it. I didn't catch that about Rick out there traveling around hauling people. That's cool.
He posted about it on Facebook.
Yeah.
Okay.
You gotta be friends with him, you know.
The next article here is Matt can go ahead and take a look at it when he's at EJS, but Jeep is planning to bring a prototype of their electric vehicle, their electric Wrangler, out to EJS.
I imagine that they probably needed to make a full electric one with the what was it, the V8 one they've got coming out being the worst fuel economy ever for a Jeep. So they're like, okay, we need something with the best fuel economy ever, and now we're gonna have this one. So,
I don't know if it's the worst fuel economy for a Jeep, even in the V8.
maybe in their modern series, I should say.
Yeah. In a currently production vehicle, I'm sure. But
yeah.
And Rick said he drove close to 200 miles.
Yeah, that's a lot.
For just going around town. Yeah. And now he probably has COVID.
From transporting all those people. Oh, dear.
Oh, boy. Well, and we've got one more story here. Is a Toyota. Well, it's kind of old, but I've got an update with it. Is the Toyota 4Runner? I believe it was the first gen 4Runner, and it had a Nissan Leaf EV powered electric vehicle powertrain. It took on King of the Hammers. They used multiple batteries. They had a little battery, one of their larger extended range batteries that the Leafs have, and then I think for the third pit stop, they used that first battery again.
I found it comical how they were recharging it, but I mean, I get that this is kind of a concept at this point, and they don't have any of the facilities to go ahead and recharge those batteries out in the field yet, but they were recharging it off of a 12,000 watt gas generator.
I mean, if you're going to do it, that's how you do it, right?
Well, yeah.
I when you guys told me about that, I wondered how they were making that happen. because recharging batteries isn't a quick thing. And so I was wondering if they were hot swapping the batteries, if they had
Well, they did
large packs that they swapped out.
Yeah, so I read a couple other articles on this. I reached out to them, and we're going to have them here on the podcast in a couple weeks. But they use like a tray to hot swap the batteries, and then they recharged them in between. And apparently they got better fuel, better range than expected per kilowatt.
Because I know they were only planning on like 1 mile per kilowatt or something like that.
Yeah, they got like 2 miles per kilowatt, I think it was.
And
that's awesome.
They mounted the batteries like in kind of like in the bed area.
Yeah,
I mean, I know it's a 4Runner, but they had the top off on the first gen 4Runner and mounted it in the bed. And I mean those. So like my mom and stepdad both have electric vehicles, and I want to say it only takes 4 hours to charge if you're charging at 120, and it cuts it in half if you're at 240. So I mean, they have the potential to definitely charge those things up while they're on the next lap, essentially.
Oh, yeah. Well, and you look at for instance, like the Tesla with their hypercharge, I think is what they call it. Those charge up really quickly. To get to like 80%. I want to say it only takes like 45 minutes to go from low to 80% or something like that. It slows down as you get closer to topping off the battery so it doesn't cook it.
For that, though, I believe that you have to have 480 volts, and you're not going to get 480 volts out in the desert.
No.
No.
You get a lot of solar panels for that.
or a lot of generators.
Yeah.
Yep.
But yeah, I definitely really cool to see electric vehicles kind of hitting the off-road market more. I'm sure we'll be touching on it more and more as time carries on.
Go prepared with Warren Industries. They produced the first recreational winch in 1959 and lead the industry with their dedication to quality and reliability. When you dig yourself in deep, make sure you have the right tools to get yourself out. Get Warren equipped and go where others can't. Now, let's get ready for adventure and head into our main topic.
Well, tonight we're joined with Matt. And Matt, before we jump too much into Tread Lightly, we've got to start off with you so that our listeners can get to know you a little more. So we're going to start off with the fast five facts. So new or old vehicle?
New.
Summer or winter camping?
Summer.
Rock, sand, snow, or mud?
Well, coming from South Carolina, where's the clay? Living in Utah now, I guess I'll say sand.
Favorite vehicle brand?
I'm a pretty big Ford guy.
No shame in that, especially the Broncos. And favorite tire?
BFG for sure, and there's plenty of story behind that.
Oh, please tell.
So pretty long history with BFG brand. Actually worked for Michelin for about 4.5 years. Doing a different type of off-road tire. I was actually in the Earth Mover group at Michelin, and working with the really big, like 15 feet in diameter mining tires. Dealing with the supply chain for those and the fun that they are to get all over North America. The plant for those is in South Carolina, and most of those at the time I was there were going to the oil sands up in Alberta in Canada. And when you can't take more than 4 or 5 tires on a flatbed because you've maxed out 80,000 pound gross. That's pretty fun. But Michelin, and then left Michelin and went to a company called Jackson Motorsports Marketing and Events. which happens to be the motorsports and event agency for BFG, and worked on the BFG brand for almost 12 years there. So pretty long history with BFG.
That is a long history with BFG. So how did you get started into off-roading?
Really the start in off-road came with that move from Michelin over to Jackson. Moved to Jackson to work on the BFG brand. The main thing we were working on right then was trying to get a new program going. At the time, it was called Team BFG. And it was really focused on getting some of those small independent tire dealers to be a little more tuner shop-esque in the work that they were doing, whether that was on the pavement or the off-road side. And we were working with a lot of the small dealers, and even some of the off-road shops, especially up in the Northeast. And so that really kind of started that. I grew up in a house where nobody was really big into cars or vehicles or anything, but it was something that I had always been super interested in. Had a brother-in-law that was pretty involved in it. Spent 2 summers when I was young in Colorado. He did dirt modified racing, and got to spend some time there. But really, a lot of my passion for off-road came from one of my colleagues at Jackson, named Frank D'Angelo. Frank's been the face of BFG for quite a few years on the off-road motorsports side. He's a Off-Road Motorsports Hall of Fame inductee, and just a good friend. And he was really one of the ones that got me into everything off-road.
So, what was the first vehicle that took you off road?
Honestly, the first vehicle I can remember really driving off-road was not long after starting at Jackson. We did an event where we took a bunch of our partners down to Baja, and we did the drive from Ensenada to San Felipe and Mike's Sky Ranch and back to Ensenada with a pretty big crew of BFG influencers. And honestly, that's probably one of the best memories I have driving off-road, and really one of the first memories that I really have driving off-road. It was a pretty interesting collection of guys on that trip. This would have been back when U-Rock was kind of in its heyday. So Mark Patey and Ranch Pratt were on that trip with us. Couple guys from one of the stock car series that BFG was working with. A guy named Mike Myers that was with an organization at the time called Nopi. That was a big import car scene. And was pretty interesting to get a bunch of guys that were not in their element at all in wide open Baja cars out in the middle of the desert in Baja. How everybody survived that trip, I'm really not sure. But we got everybody back mostly in one piece. We had one guy from the BFG brand that had to take a little drive out because he decided to drive with his thumbs in the steering wheel and maybe caught a ditch. And his thumb really didn't like that steering wheel then. But for the most part, we had a good time, and pretty awesome experience to be able to have one of your first off-roading experiences through Baja.
You're muted, Aaron.
That would be an awesome time. I just shared a video in our group chat of back in like 2004, I think, when I was down in Baja and I did a Baja buggy trip, and it was a lot of fun. Let's see here. You mentioned Fords as your vehicle of choice. Is that what you drive now, or have you bought a Chevy to make up for that?
No, I drive a Ford. I've got a 2019 Ranger, and honestly, love it. Bought it for the towing capacity because I do have a Razor as well that we tow around.
Nice.
obviously plenty of places to get out and about in Utah and enjoy that. So,
How's
but
the
yeah, I mean,
road? I've heard a lot. I've not seen a lot of them off road. I see a lot of them like mall princessed up, and they look cool, but never seen one off road.
so we sponsored the Winter 4x4 in Hurricane a couple weeks ago down in southern Utah, and we sponsored the 101 course at the event, and so we decided we took the Ranger, and it actually didn't do too bad. Was actually pretty happy with it. It's got the trail control, which is pretty wild. If you've ever seen that, it's the same trail control that comes like on the Raptors. Drop it into trail control. Use your plus and minus from your cruise control to set your speed at half-mile-per-hour increments,
Oh, cool.
and incline or decline, and take your feet off the pedals and just hold the wheel and let it go. So pretty. It did fine out there, and held its own. We had pretty interesting mix of vehicles on that 101, from a full-size crew cab Tundra, whose running boards didn't quite make the whole trip, to a couple pretty nicely equipped Jeeps as well. But it was a really good time, and enjoyed the opportunity to take the Ranger out for sure.
Yeah, I think those Rangers should do pretty good.
Yeah.
So what's your most embarrassing moment on the trail?
Probably that event. Here's the Tread Lightly guy. I was at the end of about I guess there was about 20 of us, and we were coming up the backside of Sand Hollow, and when you're going in a group on those trails, and the momentum was just not there, and my wife was riding with me, and I'm like, we're gonna high side this thing. And sure enough, about 3/4 of the way up on the backside of Sand Hollow, high sided it. It's pretty wild to see the driver's side springs in the back like fully extended, and the left rear completely off the ground. So not the finer moment, especially when you're in a 101 class with a bunch of newbies. But it was all good. And then Courtney with Carbon Off Road got the pleasure of pulling me out with her TJ. So,
Of course.
of course, that's right.
Yeah.
Well, with every loss, there's a win. You got a biggest win for us?
The biggest win, I think, is that my wife continues to ride with me. She the first time we took the Razor out, we had lived in Utah for about 2 years, and I'm like, come on, we need to get this Razor. And her answer to me was, does this mean we can stop hiking? And I said, absolutely. And she's like, cool, let's go do it. So we went and bought the Razor, and the first time out, we shot out to 5 Mile, and we started down the trail, and she like looked over at me and she said, you realize if you scare me, this is over. So she laid down the ground rules pretty quick. So far, both in the Razor and the Ranger, she continues to get in the vehicle. So I guess I've done okay so far. She is not a huge fan of sand. She doesn't like when things are shifting, and she doesn't have a whole lot of control over that. But no, she's been great. I tell her she is an awesome co-driver and navigator. She's just not the best on giving me directions of where we're going. But she's great to have along for sure. So I figure I'm doing good as long as she continues to get in the vehicle, whatever that might be, and go along. So
Certainly. Yeah. So do you have a favorite place to wheel?
I love Southern Utah. We, anywhere around from Sand Hollow, Warner Valley, Tokerville Falls. For me, it's about uh, getting to those places that are just awesome to see. I'd say my other favorite place, if you ever get a chance, there's some pretty awesome trails to the west of Bryce Canyon National Park. And my wife and I were down there a couple years ago, took the Razor up on top of this peak. We were up at probably 10,000 feet, just had lunch up there, and the view's just amazing. And you're like, this is the only way I'd want to come up here is in a 4-wheel drive vehicle. I would not want to be hiking up here. But yeah, Southern Utah is pretty awesome. I'll take any time across Baja though too.
Yeah.
So where would be the one place that you could go if you were all expenses paid, go right now? Where would it be?
That's easy. I would grab my friend Frank D'Angelo and he would be the navigator and we'd go run the Baja 1000.
Yes.
I tell you, I don't know that there's anybody else I would want to run Baja with other than Frank. So, a little story for you. And I guess it was 2007, 2008. Frank says, "Hey, we're running the race all the way to Cabo this year. I need you to go to Cabo and work the finish line. We'll have press conference when people cross the line from BFG. Make sure they've got their winners hats, etc." And I said, "Okay, that's cool. How am I getting all the stuff down there?" And he said, "Well, you're going to have to drive up to the last pit, which is about 90 miles outside of Cabo. And, you'll have to get the stuff off the truck." And I said, "Cool. Like, you got GPS of where I need to go?" He's like, "No, you just follow the main route out of town." And you get to the tomato farm and you hang a left. You go to the road, the pavement ends, and you just keep going down the road. And then there's going to be this pink house. You turn right at the pink house, and he pulls out his phone and says, "See this cactus right here? The truck's going to be on the other side of that cactus." And I'm like, sure, yeah, whatever. Sure enough, man, turn at the pink house, and there's the cactus, and there's the red, white, and blue BFG truck. So
Wow.
after that experience, I'm pretty convinced that no matter where we are in Baja, Frank could figure a way out for us. So he would be the guy for sure.
Except he'd be there in the passenger seat trying to show you his phone. See this cactus? You're going to take left at this cactus. You're like, my eyes are on the road.
Absolutely. That's awesome. I need to tell him that. That would be him for sure.
Eric in the chat says that Southern Utah is amazing. It's one of the most scenic places he's ever seen. And Jeff in the chat says he's hoping to get to Utah this summer. So talking about that stuff, and I was just talking to my wife yesterday about places we could go camping. We just bought a camp trailer to start towing around, and we're talking about going to Yellowstone, but I think I might want to do Utah instead.
Yeah, I tell you, man, Utah's pretty amazing. I was actually out here for an event for Jackson back. It's like 2008, 2009. We were at the track out in Tooele. I was heading back into Tooele, and I remember sitting at this stop sign right there and I'm looking at the mountains, and there's horses in the pasture next to us, and I'm like, "Hey, this is a pretty cool place. Wouldn't mind living here someday." Yeah, like 9 years later, what do you know? Here we are. So yeah, Utah's pretty awesome. Yellowstone's not a bad choice either. We've been to Yellowstone quite a bit. Actually did a snow coach tour through Yellowstone the day after Christmas this year.
Jealous.
It was I will say thank goodness for COVID in that case. We were on a 30 passenger coach with like these massive high flotation tires. And due to COVID regulations, there was 9 of us on the coach.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
Pretty awesome experience.
Well, I think it's about time we talk about Tread Lightly. So why don't we start this off with, how did Tread Lightly get started?
So Tread Lightly got started almost 35 years ago now. It was originally part of the National Forestry Service. And they really started, it was about the time that three-wheelers were getting popular, and they were starting to see, different land use issues that were coming from those ATV vehicles. And then about 5 years later, in 1990, it was split off into its own nonprofit. So we actually celebrated our 30th anniversary on October 15th of 2020. So 30 years as a nonprofit, and been pretty awesome to have been part of the Forestry Service, and obviously that's been big for us and helped us continue our relationship both with the Forestry Service and the Bureau of Land Management, who we work with heavily, still on a regular basis.
What's your part in the organization? What do you do for them?
So I came on as the executive director in October. I think a lot of people, when they hear Tread Lightly, they've heard the phrase. But one of the things we did at KOH was we asked a lot of the people, just when we engaged them at our booth, like, have you heard of Tread Lightly? And honestly, more than half have probably never even heard the phrase. And of those that had, a lot of them did not know that it was an organization and what we did. So we're a team of 8, but we've got national reach. And really, the focus is pretty simple. It's trying to keep trails open and accessible for all kinds of motorized recreation. And, really that's what we're working on every day, whether that's through our team that works on membership, and I know we'll talk about that here in a bit, to our team that's working with the Bureau of Land Management or the National Forestry Service, or even some of the state agencies, like Game and Fish or DNR, depending on what the state is. But we're doing everything from stewardship projects that could involve something as simple as trash pickup to building new kiosk at trailheads. We also work on a lot of the information that goes in those kiosks. And so a lot of the communications aspect. We also do even some like advertising stuff on social media. Right now we've got a campaign going in Utah that's called Respect and Protect. And the idea is to get the OHV community involved with the archaeology community in Utah, which you normally don't think of those two things operating together. We're actually looking at planning a ride this summer where we would embed 2 archaeologists with an OHV group and let them go ride out to some of the sites, let these archaeologists tell people about what the sites are, and kind of bridge a gap between 2 things that you normally wouldn't put together. And then finally, we're always working on a lot of educational materials. Those things can be found on our website. Our Tread Trainer program has been around for a long time, teaching off-road ethics, and then also teaching trainers to ultimately teach that program to other people. So a lot of things going for sure.
So what is Treading Lightly, and when it's connected to the off-road world?
Yeah, I think we're actually working on a campaign right now in Utah. And obviously we've got the acronym for Tread Lightly, but to me it's really 2 things. It's it's respect and responsibility. Those are really the two main components. Respect from a standpoint that, hey, there's a lot of people that are using the trail systems. We might be using them for a lot of different things. We might be in a lot of different type of vehicles. Maybe somebody's taking a side by side to go hunting or fishing. Maybe somebody's taking an overlanding vehicle to go camping. Maybe somebody's jeeping. Whatever those things are, the reality is we all need to respect each other because we all need to use the same trails to get there and enjoy the thing that we're trying to do. And then, the second piece of responsibility, it's our responsibility to make sure that the trails stay clean and open. The reality is when a lot of trails end up closing, it's because they've kind of gotten out of hand from a responsibility standpoint. And, the agencies just get to a place where they can't upkeep it. And, we're getting ready to release a new ad, and the line in the ad is, when trails close, we all lose. And that's really why Tread Lightly's out there. Hopefully we're doing our best to lead by example, but to be responsible and respectful of what's going on the trails.
Can you give us an example or two of when people weren't treading lightly and things that may have got shut down?
Yeah, I mean, I think I'll give just general stuff. I mean, everybody's not to pick on any community, but whether it's the UTV community, Overland community, Jeep community, everybody wants their Instagram shot. And a lot of times that Instagram shot means going off the trail and positioning my rig in just the right place where I can get that shot, so that I'm going to get my 400 likes on Insta. I think that's one thing that definitely comes into play. The other thing is, it's something as simple as trail braiding. And I don't want to go over this obstacle, so I'm going to start going around it. All of a sudden the trail starts expanding, and then we might have erosion issues because of the fall off where that trails happened. And those are really, they seem like simple things, but they can really add up in the long run and start affecting a lot of things for everybody.
Jeremy and I experienced a spot on a trail where some guys had cut through the woods to go around some rocks that they didn't want to go through with their side by sides. We ended up taking a tree that had fallen and winching it in front of that trail, or illegal bypass.
Hey, that's one of the pieces we talk about. It's everybody doing their part, and if that's the part that people have got to play, to make sure that we've got people staying on the trails, great. That's awesome.
So is treading lightly just about the ground, or does it involve plants, trees, air?
Treading lightly really, if you look back at our logo from a couple years ago, it actually said land and water. We've kind of gone away from that logo a little bit, but a lot of the tread principles, they apply whether you're on land or water. And some of the stuff that we talk about, even what we were just talking about, getting off the trail, that's where you start doing some of that damage to some of the things you're talking about, trees, plants, and stuff that may be really important to holding the ground where they're at. We did a big project late last year in Colorado where there had been a fair amount of avalanche danger. There was an avalanche slide and avalanche damage. And it's pretty obvious to see how big a part that plants and trees play in holding the ground where it's at. So yeah, I mean, it really falls into all of those things. No matter where you're at, whether you're in Utah or Oregon or Washington, there's all of those habitats are there for a reason. And when you start getting away from them, that's when you can get yourself in trouble.
Do you guys talk at all about winching responsibly as well, using tree savers and things as part of your program?
Yeah, we do a little bit. One of the things that we've had a lot of discussion about, especially since I came on board, where's our part in kind of specific, what I would call off-road, either recovery or driving, techniques. And that's something that we're looking at. It actually came up when we were at the Winter 4x4 Jamboree. And I think that's something that we need to, look at more. It's not something that you're really going to find on the site right now. But I think that's something that's really important. And there's a lot of really good groups out there that we could pull information from, that would help with that. And I'd like to see that something on our site moving forward. Maybe we partner, uh, with the appropriate organization, and we end up bringing that information over to our website as well.
One of those 700 pages you were talking about.
Exactly. Exactly.
Have you felt that some of the big newsworthy events like the Tacoma Beast debacle have turned out for the better? It looks like they're pushing tread lightly now more than they were.
That's a really great question. So that happened obviously before I got there. Obviously, I've heard about it since being there, and um, I think anything that ultimately turns positive from a tread lightly standpoint is really good. One thing that for me is pretty interesting about that is, I have a background obviously in off-road motorsports, and I think there's a lot of negativity, even towards the off-road motorsports community, and the idea that they're doing damage to the land with what they're doing. The reality is there's a lot of remediation that takes place after all of those events. Um, and I'll bring up Johnson Valley, for example. I will pretty much guarantee you that Johnson Valley was when the crew from Ultra 4 and King of the Hammers, departed Johnson Valley. It was probably in a better state than it was when they got there. And I think there's a lot of really positive work that's being done by the off-road community as a whole that's just not talked about. A lot of what gets talked about is the negative stuff. I love the news piece that you guys talked about tonight with the off-road community helping the people get to work. That's awesome, and I really think Tread Lightly is in a really good spot from a communication standpoint, where we need to communicate those positive things that the off-road community is doing more than probably has been lately. And that's something that our team is committed to. I mean, we've got some partners that choose to kind of remain anonymous. But there's one company that I can think of. They're doing some really awesome stuff with us on stewardship projects. Two recently within the last 6 months that have just been awesome work, and they really just support us and make sure that the events happen. But I think the more we can talk about the positive stuff that's going on, the better off that we are.
Absolutely. So we've seen Tread Lightly hosting a lot of events recently. What's involved in your guys' events?
So, events for us take on a couple different forms. It could be like I referenced the Winter 4x4 Jamboree, where, we were one of the event sponsors. We decided to sponsor a couple of the trail rides there. And again, like I referenced, I think just getting the Tread Lightly brand out there and the Tread Lightly organization is really important. I think we've all seen the massive influx of new enthusiasts, particularly in the last year. So I think just getting the Tread Lightly name and brand and principles out there are really important. we do have events that we sponsor that are specific to stewardship or cleanup activities. Even with the craziness of 2020, we were able to pull off like 10 stewardship projects last year and had almost 200 volunteers, in different areas. So, for us, and the team and I just met last week. We just talked about our strategic plan kind of for the next 3 years. Stewardship's really going to be the foundation for us. I think stewardship is a big thing that people can get their heads wrapped around if they're interested in being, a member. I think partners can get their heads wrapped around that, and it's something that they can really get behind and contribute to. And obviously, it improves our relationship with the Bureau of Land Management, National Forestry Service, and any of those agency partners when we're coming to them and say, hey, we have volunteers or we have partners that are willing to fund a project in your area. So, events that are focused on stewardship are going to be something I think that's going to continue to grow for us as we move forward.
Well, we see tread lightly a lot in the off-road world. What other parts of the outdoors can we help?
I think I'm going to answer that kind of in an interesting way. I've had several people, my family, I came from the East Coast. I have a lot of family that have enjoy hunting, and they're kind of like, where does tread lightly, figure in with that? I mean, and my simple answer to that is, we're focused on motorized vehicles. But the reality is, whether you're hunting, fishing, camping, even hiking, in some cases, you're using some type of motorized vehicle usually to get to where you're going. So I think the idea of treading lightly, no matter what your ultimate end activity is important across the board. And that's why when you go on our website, you see some of that other stuff. I even know when I first started, I kind of asked some of the team, I'm like, where does this stuff fit in, if we're focused on motorized. And it's really, it doesn't matter what the activity is, you had to get there in some way. And again, it really goes back to that point that I referenced. It's all the same trails usually that we're using to get wherever that might be. So it's important, back to that responsibility and respect piece that comes part of it. I'm reading Rick's question.
Sorry, I was muted.
No,
no.
no.
What can a person do when we witness folks doing anything illegal? Obviously, we should try to talk to them first, but then what if they don't listen to that?
Yeah, that's a really great question, and it's probably one of the biggest questions that we get. If you have the opportunity to take the Tread Trainer program, we actually talk about that in that program. Yeah, I think some of it comes down to a level of like what you feel comfortable with. And I find some of the best way to engage people is just ask them questions. A lot of times I just find that there's not a knowledge base there. And it's like, hey, did you know that what you're doing has the potential to cost us use of this trail? And sometimes people might be receptive of that and be like, no, I had no idea, I'm new, I just bought this last week and somebody tossed me the keys, and I'm out here trying to enjoy myself. I think that approach tends to work, just asking those questions and building a little bit of rapport with the person. But I think if you've tried to talk to them, and the situation is not getting better, the best thing to do at that point is, probably grab description of the vehicle, depending on where you're riding. If you're on, BLM land or forestry land, try to talk to a local official and just bring it to their attention from there.
What's the most useful way that the average person can support what Tread Lightly is doing?
Really great question. I mean, the simplest answer to that is, membership. We've got membership program. You can check that out on our website. We offer a bunch of membership benefits with that. There's membership benefits on there from Jeep and BFG and Discount Tire and Deep Sleep Jeep. So bunch of great organizations. So those are all really good, but the membership stuff helps us immensely. It allows us to handle some of the kind of the off the wall requests that we get. And I'll give an example of that. I'm on my way to Hammers a couple weeks ago. We got a message into our Facebook page, and this guy says, "Hey, I've taken your tread trainer course. I'm really committed to Tread Lightly and everything that you're doing. I know you guys sometimes have a little bit harder time getting to the East Coast, because of the size of your team, etc." He's like, "I really want to work this Jeep event. I've tried to get them to comp me the booth space, and I'll work the booth for you, but I can't get them to give me the space." And I said, send me the bill for what the space is. I'll take care of the space. I'll send you the materials that you need to work the event. And, if you're willing to work the event, we'll make it happen. So something as simple as membership allows for those opportunities to happen. I know everybody has the question too, like, I'm worried about my local trails, like why sponsor an event in Florida? The reality for us is we've got national reach, and we really want to be, all encompassing. Just like, you had several people comment earlier when we were talking about Southern Utah. I mean, there's people that are coming to Southern Utah to ride from all over the place. And, it's important that when those people come here to enjoy that, the trails are open and accessible for them to enjoy when they're here. So, we've really got to have a reach everywhere. So membership really is that simplest thing, and offers us, the opportunity to do things like have somebody at that event for us, but make sure they've got the tools to be there.
Rick wants to know if you've heard of a photo reporting system.
I have not heard of that. I'm sure that it probably exists in certain areas, but it's not something that I've specifically heard of.
So your website mentions minimizing the use of the fire. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah. So, when you guys brought that up with me earlier, I went online and did a little bit of looking on that. And I think where that's coming from, we have some rec tips for camping that are on the site. And there's a couple things that fall under that. Disposing of waste when camping. A lot of people think if I just throw my, cardboard, my whatever in the fire, that's like disposing of it. That's honestly a really big issue that we see. I'll be honest, it's probably one of the bigger issues that we saw at King of the Hammers. You've got a lot of fires out there from the evening, and people think, hey, there's a trash receptacle 50 feet away, but I'll just throw it in the fire, and that takes care of it. So I think that's probably where some of that's coming from. I think the other issue is just, if you're going to do, fire when you're out, make sure that you've got, if there's rings provided, you're using the rings. If there's not one provided, that you're creating an appropriate ring. And, the other thing, as simple as it sounds, is make sure the fire's out before you leave. We've all we all grew up with Smokey the Bear forever, and the only you can prevent the forest fires. But again, you'd be shocked at how many times we're in an area where we're doing a cleanup, and you come on a fire that's still pretty warm. and if something fell on it, it could be a much bigger issue. So I think that's where a lot of that that comment related to that fire stuff comes from.
I know Aaron and I, when we did the Gambler 500 a couple years ago in Oregon, we ran across a fire that was still going, no one around, and the fire's just bellowing on. It was just like, what? It was just
Yeah.
kind of like, wow.
Yeah.
So we got a question we had asked in our group about this. Has anyone talked about the use of differential lockers decreasing the speed of erosion on trails?
We had a little bit of discussion about that actually at Winter 4x4 in the 101 class. Austin Stovall with Carbon Off Road was doing a pretty in-depth discussion of lockers, and this came up. I think the idea is great, and I think the reality is anything that we can do that decreases the speed of erosion on trails is important. Again, you look at the amount of use that trails got last year. If there's any question how active trails were, go look at the earnings reports from Polaris, Yamaha, Kawasaki. That'll tell you how busy the trails were last year. And it's not like a lot of new trails are being opened. The reality is, we're going to have the number we have, or they're going to slightly decline, and the number of users is not declining. So, anything that we can do that minimizes impact on the trails, whether that's lockers or whatever it is, I'm all for it.
Have you had much interaction with the Gambler 500 crew or the Sons of Smoky?
So the Gambler 500 crew, honestly, did not see them this year, but I know last year at King of the Hammers, we had two of our team from Tread Lightly out there, and the Gambler 500 crew was awesome, and they were out there almost every morning with our crew, helping on the cleanup. So greatly appreciate them and their work to do that. It was pretty awesome, and I know my team spoke really highly of them and their willingness to come out there and help.
Yeah, I know our was it Mount Baker National Forest, or was it Olympic? They got some recognition. They actually got a grant for helping clean up this last summer. They did a huge cleanup every year, and they fill like two big what are they, the 500-yard dumpsters or whatever they are, the big ones.
It's amazing to me when you can do a cleanup and you've got to bring in dumpsters to do the cleanup.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, we follow several of their Facebook pages, and I love it when Tate, just out of the blue, you'll see a post from him that says, abandoned boat or abandoned car, here's the coordinates. First one to get it gets, first one to claim it and haul it back and dispose of it properly gets a ring or something like that.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love that.
So do you guys get much involvement from major vehicle manufacturers or motorsports companies?
So great question. Let me talk about the vehicle manufacturers first. Yeah, we have involvement from them, and it's something that we're always working on to get into continued involvement of. One of our biggest member benefits comes from the Dodge, Ram, Jeep, Chrysler brands. You have the ability as a $100 member with Tread Lightly. Once you've been a member for 30 days, you can purchase on the affiliate program, which allows you to buy at 1% below invoice. So pretty great member benefit, and pretty awesome involvement there with them. We've had relationships in the past with Land Rover, Toyota, etc., and we're pretty actively working on several relationships right now. One of those big ones that we are working on obviously is Bronco, and with the relaunch of the Bronco I think there would be a really great opportunity to launch the Bronco with some tread lightly messaging behind it. So having some conversations about that, but always would welcome any involvement from from the manufacturers. And I would cross over that and say, from a manufacturer standpoint, we do have really great involvement from Polaris, from Yamaha, and from Kawasaki. All of them, have really great involvement with us. We have participation from all three of those through board members, which is really great. And they offer some really great partnerships as well as some grants to us and to other clubs that are able to apply for those. From the motorsports side, I think that's really something that we're hoping to build on heavily with my background. And then we just had an addition to our board in January of Matt Martelli. So Matt is one of the main guys with the Mint 400 and with the UTV World Championships. So Matt came on our board in January, and obviously has a really great communication platform to a really big audience. And we're really starting to work on how we can use that to our benefit moving forward. And we've got several other of the motorsport sanctioning bodies also that are willing to help us. SCORE, which is a sanctioning body for Baja, they just told us on Friday that they're gonna give us ads in their journal for the rest of the year. So really appreciate that from them, allowing us to get our message out. So some really great partnerships starting there, and hopefully those can continue to grow moving forward.
You mentioned the 1% below invoice on Jeep, Dodge, Ram products. What other kind of benefits do members receive?
So we've got a rebate program from BF Goodrich. We have a rebate type program as well from Discount Tire. Several outdoor pubs that offer us subscription-based discounts. We've got Sheer Comfort seat covers that we work with as well. The best thing that you can do, we're actually adding those fairly regularly. I threw out 3 proposals today to 3 different potential partners. All of them have potential member benefit options in them. So, we're constantly adding to those. So the website usually has the latest on those of who has the member benefits out there.
We just wanted to thank you guys for coming on. And where can people find Tread Lightly?
So Tread Lightly, you can go online, treadlightly.org is where you can find us. I'd also encourage you to follow us on Instagram or on Facebook. We post quite frequently on there. The other thing that's pretty interesting, we have a lot of kind of smaller groups that we follow that a lot of times talk about cleanups that might be happening in their area. And so we encourage people to follow us. And that way, when we repost that, you might find out about, something that's happening in your area and be able to join that. We met a great group out in at King of the Hammers that's actually local there, called the Desert Cleanse Project. And they came out and helped us, I think 3 or 4 days in a row. So always great to follow us on social so you can catch those things that might be going on in your area.
Awesome. Well, we want to thank everyone who listens to us weekly through all the channels that we've got, as well through the couple different Facebook groups and Facebook pages. If you haven't already, make sure you check out our new Facebook group and come up with an awesome name for it. Bonus points if it mentions Ben in a ditch. But yeah, we just want to let you know we really appreciate our listeners. We love interacting with you guys. Make sure you share us with all your friends and help our channel grow. And God bless America.
Don't forget to visit Patriot Patch and join the Patch of the Month Club. Check out our Gaia affiliate link for up to 40% off. Also, don't forget to head over to Warren and Power Tank to see all of their great gear. We are a proud part of the Firearms Radio Network. Got a question or comment? Send it to us through our webpage at firearmsradio.tv or through our social media channels by searching for Off-Road Podcast. Also, you can listen to us live at overlandradio.com, Mondays at 7 p.m. Pacific. When off-road, please remember to have fun, tread lightly, be safe and courteous, and thanks for listening.
So is it the Ditch King groupies?
Ben's Ditch Recovery Group.
Also, I don't think driving through ditches like Ben does is very treading lightly.
That's true. That's true.
We'll have to talk to Ben later.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right?